in the game, cause see the boxing voice.
Welcome back, gang, for the first time and hopefully many more to come. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notifications right here, this little bell, so you can get those emails every time we go live. Peace.
David, the loss last March to Tony Bellew, how hard has that been to take?
Oh, it's very tough, very, very tough to take any loss. To Tony Bellew, it was that extra little bit spicy. It just really didn't sit well with me, and I'm just fortunate that I got an opportunity to right that loss. It was tough, you know. I didn't anticipate it in any scenario that could take place in the boxing ring. I thought in a 12-round fight, which I was adamant it was, for no title, that in 12 rounds I'd find a way to knock him out no matter what, and if not, then I'd win on points. But that didn't happen, so credit to him. But this time round I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make sure I do get that much needed victory. A
very different approach this time, a little bit of humble pie?
No doubt, no doubt. You know, I talked big and I failed miserably last time, so can't have that again. I'm focusing all my attentions on the performance, focusing all my attention on becoming the very best David Haye I can be, working with a new coach, just trying to make sure that come fight night I'm tip-top, that everything that I've boasted I could do in the past, I can actually bring into fruition.
You've been there at cruiserweight and heavyweight. How can you do it?
I can do it by getting back to my best, by focusing on my attributes, what I do well, what I don't do very well, and just being realistic about my physicalities, and knowing the injuries that I've had, how I work around those injuries. Because in the past maybe I just assumed just getting in the ring I could just land some shots and win the fight, but as you get to, I'm 37 years old now, I'm sure, when did you give up? Right?
When I gave up in 93.
How was you? How old was you?
I was 27.
So 10 years, so 10 years older than when you gave up. Is, you don't recover like you used to. So I need to take all of that into consideration when I'm in training camp, to make sure that I'm not pushing it too far. It's not all about just pushing 100%. That doesn't work. You push things 100%, things start popping and snapping. You need to work smart, work clever. And as I've got older, I've learned how to, particularly recently in the last year or so, I've worked out how to really kind of get my body to my optimal fighting capacity without injuring myself.
If you can get your body to that point, what about when all of a sudden the bell goes? 10,000 people or 20,000?
20,000, yeah.
20,000 people, millions watching home. What's going to stop anything snapping then?
My training, making sure that for instance, everything's taped up. My Achilles, my ankles, everything's taped up. So everything that potentially could have an issue will be fine. The way that I throw my punches, I'm not putting unnecessary strain on different muscle groups. It's pretty tough to train in a different manner to which I've always trained before, but that's all about experience, all about learning. It's all about knowing myself and having a team around me who adapt training processes to my physical capabilities.
David, here for Seconds Out, what can Ismail Salas bring to your training team that you didn't have for the first Bellew fight?
He's trying to bring out my natural attributes. He started from the feet up. First off, he was unhappy with how my legs were moving, happy with my leg positioning, how my hips were, rotation. He's literally worked from the bottom up. It's such a shame that the first fight that didn't happen in December, because I felt as good as I've ever felt before. Freak accidents happen, unfortunately, but here we are. So we've just carried on the good training we'd done prior to that fight. We just kept it going. So in hindsight, it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but it just gives me a little bit longer to sort of streamline and to focus on the new things, the new movements, the new punch sequences that I've been working with Ismail Salas for.
Have you been, or will you be, sparring Joe Joyce in preparation for this fight?
No. Joe Joyce and Tony Bellew are very different propositions. I try to get people who replicate as best as possible Tony Bellew on coming forward. For instance, I'll have someone similar stature to Tony Bellew who comes forward. I've got someone else who moves away, so to mix that in as well, to no matter what Tony Bellew brings, that I'm physically prepared for that.
Are there benefits to training alongside someone like Joe Joyce, though? Someone, a young heavyweight coming through?
Yeah, it does. We do a lot of circuits together and stuff. So, he's got a crazy engine. So he just keeping up with Joe. He's not that much younger than me. He's 32, but he's very fresh, and he's got a huge engine. So if I can keep up with Joe Joyce, I'm fine.
Thank you for your time.
David, you're 37 years of age now.
Thanks for reminding me.
What do you think is more harmful to you at this stage of your career? Coming back from an injury that you sustained, or just the layoff?
I think the two different things. The layoff can affect your timing. It can affect your rhythm if you haven't had adequate sparring. Injuries are always injuries. Unfortunately, I've never had the same injury twice. So I've never really had an impact in the fight resulting from a prior injury that had healed. So I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest. A mixture of both. The layoff, I'm not too bothered about the layoff, to be honest. As long as my timing's good in sparring, it normally is when I'm fighting. So yeah, injuries can pop out of nowhere. I've experienced that before. So yeah, probably a little bit more worried about something on my head falling off in the third round or something popping and snapping. That's more of a worry than my timing as I've been out of the ring technically for 14 months come fight night.
Now, historically, you're somebody who has relied a lot on athleticism.
Yeah.
On the flip side, do you think people have underrated your boxing skills? You're obviously a very successful amateur. Is that going to be more what you're going to be looking to utilise coming back?
My boxing skills were very heavily entwined with my athleticism. So I've developed a boxing style which relied heavily on my athleticism. My jab, a regular guy couldn't throw a jab like me because he's not powerful enough or explosive enough or fast enough to land it. So the punches that I've thrown in the past, technically, weren't that great, but because I had such a athleticism, I was able to get away with it. It kind of reminded me, a bit like Roy Jones Jr. He technically, he didn't do things as the textbook would suggest, but he was so athletically gifted and so fast that he could land a shot. Anyone else trying to fight like that would just come unstuck pretty quick. But once his reflexes did slow down, he started losing to people he had no business losing to, because his style was so heavily connected to his physicality. So knowing that myself, knowing that I'm getting older, I've had to maybe adapt my style to not implement so much of my athleticism and punches, and actually work on my technique, my rotation, my head movement, my balance, my foot positioning. So I've tried my very best to sort of reinvent my style, to improve my style, and if I can, and whilst doing so, if I can keep my athleticism, which is the only thing that's really going to go, your speed, timing, those things maybe start diminishing if you don't get it right in training. You could come unstuck, but with the training team I have and the new technical side that I brought to the table, I think it's going to make me a better fighter all round. So short talk is cheap. I gave it all a big talk for the first one, I flopped. So let's just hope I don't flop this time.
Just final one from me, David. It seemed to me in the immediate aftermath of the first fight with Tony Bellew, everybody seemed to dance around the fact that you were clearly injured, including yourself. Now, was the experience that you had with Vladimir Klitschko and the subsequent backlash from that, did that play a factor in you kind of ignoring the fact in the post-fight that you were clearly injured?
Well, what happened in the post-fight with Klitschko was, I didn't accept what happened. I got beat, and looking back, I should just say I got beat. Plain and simple. Every fighter has injuries. Every
Ain't no other sight in the game, 'cause see the boxing voice.